This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Friday, February 17th, 2023. We're so glad you could join us for today's show. And in today's show, I will speak with National Pork Board board members Chad Groves and Bob Ruth. Chad is going on an NPB visit to Singapore and Thailand soon. Bob was part of a recent trip to Panama and Colombia. We will also have a check of the ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by agmarket.net's Tyler Schau for our closing market analysis. Tyler, what did we see in the grain markets today?
Not really a lot. Kind of more of what we've seen the last few weeks of just some consolidation type trade, and really all three of the grains. Not really getting a lot of action up or down, just kind of hovering in that same spot that we have been the last few weeks.
And Tyler, with not a lot of volatility right now in the marketplace, is this a good time for a producer here, let's say in the state of Iowa, to do something with his grain? Is it a good time to make a move or is it not? And if so, what would you recommend right now for Iowa producers? What should they be focusing on?
The answer I'm always going to go with is focusing on profitability. My guess is most producers right now, grain in the bin, and even grain that they're going to be planting, or corn or beans they're going to be planting next year, you're looking at profitable levels. So, the one good thing about this kind of ho-hum status we've had the last few weeks and a lack of volatility is option prices get a lot cheaper. And so, that's one of the things I try to get the producers that I work with to look at. What are your cash flow needs coming up here over the next 6 months? When do those needs occur? And then is there a way we can at least put a floor under stuff right now using some put options, maybe sell some calls over the top to help pay for them at a price level you're comfortable selling your grain at? That gives us the flexibility to sit back and be patient here. We're going to see some volatility pick up at some point. It's February right now. Very rarely, do we see the high put in corn or bean market in January and February. It's likely to come sometime either in the spring or late summer, depending on what weather does. But it sure stink to have these types of this length of time is probably a better way to put it, that we've had, to where we could go in and step out and make some sales that put pretty good money in our pocket, do nothing, and then watch this fall apart as the acres climb and the weather looks really good as we move into the spring. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it's just one of those fears that I always have for a producer when we have good profitability sitting there and we don't do anything.
On the other side of the ag marketplace, what did we see in the livestock markets today?
A little bit of back and forth. Hogs kind of shot up early this morning, traded high. Kind of tested some of the highs and some of the closes from earlier this week, and just couldn't hang on to it and settled back down. We actually closed down about 50 cents in the hog market. Hogs have just, they're really struggling. I think I mentioned a few times that typically we see a reduction in supply as we move from the fourth quarter into the first quarter, and this year we're not seeing that. One bright note from yesterday, the exports on pork were considerably higher than the week before, almost twice the size they were the week before. So that was a good thing. That might have been what led to some of the exuberance in the market early this morning, but it just kind of faded as the day went on. Fat cattle had a strong day, up 80 cents in the February contract, up about 60 cents in your April. We're starting to see some cash bids hit 160 around the country. And so that's been a long time. I think you got to go back to 2015 since we've seen cash prices paid that high for fat cattle here in the U.S. So that's offering a little bit of support to the cattle market. Feeders were kind of mixed, and basically end of the day on either sides of unchanged.
Tyler, we had talked not too long ago with those low numbers of live cattle available and just the high prices that we didn't feel like cattle was in a great spot. Big picture wise, couple weeks removed from that, right now, where are you feeling about cattle and where we are big picture?
On the whole side, big picture, it's a bullish market. A lot of bullish sentiment. I don't want to get too far off topic or away from the question, but one of the things that we would love to see is where the managed money crowd is sitting with the commitment of traders report on fat cattle. We have not got that report the last 2 weeks because of some issues going on with one of the vendors that the CFTC works with. We're not going to get that again today. So going into a couple of weeks ago, the funds, the managed money crowd was building a pretty hefty long net position in fat cattle, and they were fixing on moving from short feeders into a long position. We obviously have no idea where they sit right now, but it's becoming bullish because the writing's on the wall. At some point, we're going to be scraping to find enough kill-ready animals to fill the demand that we have for beef. I wouldn't say we've hit that point yet. The last few years have been, as our breeding herd has come down, a lot of those cows are finding their way into feed yards and then they're entering some packing houses. And so we've been killing off cows. So that's kind of diluted a little bit of the issue, but at some point, ranchers are going to start keeping cows around and they're going to quit sending heifers to feedlots. And when that happens, I think that's that point that a lot of cattlemen have been looking for a couple of years now.
Tyler Schau, our market analyst here today at the close of markets. Tyler, how can our viewers get in touch for more great information?
Check us out on our website, agmarket.net. There's a contact page. You can sign up for our Ag Intel. And if you want to reach me directly, the number 701-987-6009.
He is Tyler Schau with agmarket.net. Tyler, thank you for the time. Have a great weekend.
You bet. You guys too.
Thank you once again to the team at agmarket.net for our closing market analysis. Let's turn our attention now to the closing numbers, those numbers courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. March corn is up 1 3/4 at 677 3/4. New crop December corn up 2 1/4 at 595 3/4. March soybeans up 3/4 cent at 1527 1/4. New crop November soybeans up 2 1/2 at 1386 1/4. May soybean meal down 30 cents at 474.90. May soybean oil down 40 cents at 61.75. Chicago wheat unchanged at 776 1/4. Minneapolis wheat down a half cent at 923 1/4. And Kansas hard red wheat up 8 1/2 at 895 3/4. May oats down 2 3/4 at 348 3/4. On the Merc, live cattle for April up 57 cents at 164.65. March feeder cattle up 30 cents at 186.52. April lean hogs down 50 cents at 85.27. April pork cutout down 60 cents at 91.80. February Class 3 milk down 4 cents at 17.88. And that's been a check of the Ag Market Recap here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break now to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I speak with National Pork Board board members Chad Groves and Bob Ruth. This is AMPM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today I speak with NPB board members Chad Groves and Bob Ruth about NPB trips in the past to Panama and Colombia, and also upcoming trips to Singapore and Thailand. On those trips, they're going to learn about the growth potential in rising markets. Mark Magnuson on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Chad Groves. He is a board member with the National Pork Board. And Chad, I know that's a big part of your job, but you also have a day-to-day job. Could you tell us where else you spend your time at the workplace?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Seaboard Foods. So I represent 350 sows that we raise and harvest those animals. I also represent Triumph and Seaboard Triumph Foods. So all in, it's about 700,000 sows that I represent. And with the sales and marketing team, we work to export product throughout the globe.
Chad, I understand you're on an upcoming trip that is headed to Singapore and Thailand. Could you tell us about that trip and what the overall goals are for that trip?
Yeah, the overall goals for us are, number one, to diversify, right? Open new countries of supply that we can export to, and work to ultimately build demand. So when you look at those two countries that we'll be going to, Singapore has a long history with U.S. pork. Thailand, not so much. So two interesting dynamics as we work to build a market and a strategy to get more U.S. pork into those two countries.
And Chad, will you have actual hog producers along for that trip with you?
We will, yeah. We'll have several others. There's 5 of us in total, 3 of which are producers. So we'll be able to tell the story of the animals and the farms that raise the great pork throughout the U.S.
And have you been on a trip like this in the past? And if so, when those producers come along for the trip, does that really add some authenticity and really allow that message to be driven home to I guess, an overseas marketplace where you're hoping to expand U.S. pork?
Yeah, it absolutely does. So just like the U.S., any customers in really business starts with relationships. So forming those relationships at the ground level, specifically with producers, helps open the door and really helps us tell an authentic story about U.S. pork.
Chad, could you explain a little bit more what you mean by those different types of cuts, those different cuts in the marketplace, and why some countries maybe don't have the certain number of cuts that we would have here in the United States, and how that is a way to expand?
Absolutely, yeah. And many of the countries that we export product to, you really start by meeting the consumer with where they are. And so oftentimes the domestic herd does not support the supply needed. And so there's cuts that are not consumed here in the U.S. that we export throughout the world. Feet, different types of varietal meats, all end up overseas. And so if we can meet the consumer in those countries where they are, you can start to supply those variety meats as well as feet and other items. From there, you can move into loins and hams and other whole muscle cuts that maybe the market hasn't had in the past. But with those relationships, you work to develop the market, develop demand on different cuts, and ultimately work to supply a diverse product offering in each one of those countries.
And Chad, are Singapore and Thailand similar countries in that they don't necessarily have that wide range of cuts that we are used to here in the United States, and that will be an area that you can hopefully expand?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, as we get in and have supply flowing into the market, we work with restaurateurs and retailers to really help merchandise items so that they can see some of the products, whole muscle cuts that are consumed here in the U.S. and other parts of the world, and really get a feel for how they can be used in their domestic dishes.
Chad, lastly, before we wrap things up, what are you looking forward to the most going on this trip to Singapore, Thailand, overseas, chance to be an advocate for U.S. pork?
Yeah, really, it's just being an advocate for U.S. pork, really starting some foundational relationships that hopefully will blossom and turn into everyday weekly business for exports here in the U.S. flowing over to those two countries.
He is Chad Groves, a board member with the National Pork Board, our guest today on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Chad, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck on the trip and have a great time.
Thank you.
Mark Magnuson on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Bob Ruth. He is a board member from the National Pork Board, and he was recently on a trip to Panama and Colombia. It was a trip that was sent over to those countries to hopefully expand the U.S. marketplace, the marketplace for U.S. pork in those countries. Bob, first of all, how was the trip, and what did you learn in Panama and Colombia on your tour?
Hi, Mark. So thank you very much for allowing us to talk to you. It just got back, like you said, from Panama and Colombia. Our objective there was to visit with our customers down in those markets. We just recently is expanding into those markets. Panama and Colombia, because of the free trade agreement, are very good markets for us. And we went down, did a lot of work with our customers, looking at different issues in the supply chain, and then talk to them about how we could do more business with them.
Bob, on a trip like that, does it carry weight when those potential consumers, those potential customers see people from the United States coming to advocate for U.S. pork? Do they know ahead of time that U.S. pork is the real deal, and they are hopefully excited to expand the marketplace to have U.S. pork be a big part of it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're very excited about meeting producers. You would not believe, Mark, the weight that the producer holds in talking with the customers. Being able to look them, eye to eye and talk about the things that we do in the United States. And the United States has got a great reputation, in Central and South America. The quality of our product, the efficiency of our product. What we're doing in sustainability is a great story that they're very interested in hearing. So yeah, it holds a lot of weight when you're standing there talking to your customers, and you're telling them exactly what's going on the farm.
Bob, one of the things about overseas markets are the types of cuts that are available in those countries and whether or not some different cuts can be introduced to the marketplace. When you were on your trip, what kind of specific variety cuts did you see that they are very fond of in Panama and Colombia? And what are some cuts maybe that you could see as, hey, this could be an opportunity for growth?
So again, variety meats are a big opportunity for us in all of our export markets. A lot of feet and different cuts like that go into those markets that aren't necessarily used here domestically. But they are also looking for some value-added cuts too. The loin they were very interested in, and some of the shoulders and butt products as well. And so, they not only are taking up variety meats, which is important for us, but looking at value-added cuts too.
Bob, is there anything that you learned on this trip? Maybe something that surprised you didn't know ahead of time going in and kind of turned a light bulb on for you?
Yeah, I've been on the pork board now for a year and a half, and the team effort, Mark, that goes into this. It's not, the pork board is a big part of it. NPPC is a big part of it. Our USMEF partners are huge in this. And USDA plays a big role in it too. And all of us working together is what makes this work so well. And one of the things that I learned is that, even though we do work together, we can even learn more about how we can work better together to expand markets outside the United States.
And so, Bob, I would imagine then you think it's a good idea to continue these trips, continue to try to expand markets by getting those boots on the ground and actually interacting with people in those emerging markets.
Absolutely, Mark. Like I said earlier, having producer facing with our customers in foreign markets is absolutely critical. So we really need producers to volunteer to come in and to go with us on these trips. And then being with our partners. We were down there with USMEF and NPPC, and it's critical that we all understand kind of the lanes that we play in and the needs that each of these lanes have got so that we can provide the resources necessary to keep our exports going strong.
Bob, is there anything else you'd like to let our viewers know when it comes to your trips that you've recently taken? Maybe something else that you see as far as what we can do to expand these markets for U.S. pork?
Well, Courtney Knupp, who runs the exports for NPB, talks a lot about prospecting and making sure that we're exploring market availability for future exports. With China backing off the way that they have in the last year and a half, this Central America and South America market has been a godsend to us to be able to help us continue to add value and volume outside of domestic use in the United States. And so we've just got to make sure that we stay on top of continuing to prospect for new markets. And that's what our partners do for us. And so that support that we give to them is critically important.
He is Bob Ruth, a National Pork Board member from Pennsylvania, our guest today on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Bob, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate our talk, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good talking to you.
That was NPB board members Chad Groves and Bob Ruth. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Well, looks can be a little bit deceiving when it comes to the weather today. The sun is out statewide, but it's still a little bit cool. Now, the good side is, with that direct sunshine, we are melting a little bit of snow, but I'm sure that's going to freeze rather quickly again tonight, as temperatures will still be rather cool. Clear skies tonight with those cool temperatures, and then we get ready tomorrow for a nice warm-up. Around the state of Iowa, we will have very mild temperatures in the mid to upper 30s and even the low 40s in parts of the state. So let's turn our attention now to the National Weather Service and what the Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, sunny skies statewide today. Still some cooler temperatures, but we do have some direct sunlight, which is melting a little bit of our snow today. High temperatures expected in the 23 to 35 range. Tonight, mostly clear skies. Warmer than recent nights, however, we still will have lows below freezing at 15 to 28. Tomorrow, the warm-up begins. We will have sunshine around most of the state, high temperatures in the 39 to 43 range. And turning our attention now to our affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee, partly sunny and 39 degrees. Shenandoah, mostly sunny and 43. Des Moines, mostly sunny and 42 on Saturday. Albia, mostly sunny and 43. Waterloo, a little bit cooler, mostly sunny and 41. Clinton, mostly sunny and 40 degrees, as we should have a chance to melt some snow on Saturday. For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook. That also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can find our video content and previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. Don't forget our free twice-daily market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.